have come to Philadelphia, have infected the entire city of Philadelphia, which is already suffering enough, and they're still here. While Greg Cote, or depending upon whether he's a hockey guy or a baseball guy, Greg Cote, joins us from Miami now. You hear him on the Le Batard Show, columnist at the Miami Herald. And he was out in the yard working today between shows, and he joins us right now on the Zoom call. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing well, Tony. How are you?
Not as good as you. Now, first of all, Harry and I both deemed yesterday that if there's any, and we hate to play the blame game, but is there any way, shape, or form that we cannot, as a nation, blame the Miami Marlins for their irresponsible actions in Atlanta, presumably, to get the Rona, bring it to Philly, and then destroy all of the Eastern Division playoffs in the American and National League and possibly ruin the rest of the baseball season?
Yeah, that's they have broad shoulders. They can take it. I think if you're looking to lay blame, you'll find a pretty obvious target, because it's true that a couple of guys ran afoul of the protocols and did something they shouldn't have, apparently, in Atlanta, and basically infected half of their team. So it's been a huge embarrassment for the Marlins, and obviously a nightmare for MLB. So, yeah, we're definitely at the epicenter of it down here.
Well, Greg, do the sports fans of South Florida care whether the Marlins play any more games this season?
Yeah, I mean, the jokes have gone around that when they play before in an empty stadium, it won't look much different. I mean, that's a low-hanging fruit for a joke, but it probably applies. You know, it's true. In a column I wrote, I mentioned that if this had happened to a marquee team, imagine if it had happened to the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox, it would be more scandalous and a bigger story. The fact that it happened to the under-radar Marlins is probably good for MLB, if anything, although nothing is good about this situation, because it puts the whole season on some sort of alert, if I'm Rob Manfred.
Now, Greg, obviously people are knocking baseball because they're not in a bubble. I don't know how they could have done a bubble, but perhaps they could. They were too busy wasting month after month after month with open negotiations and telling each side how many games they were going to play, and it became a joke for a couple of months. And so I think it's fair to criticize Rob Manfred. In fact, NBA, Adam Silver's getting a lot of love because the NBA has done it right, and they're not getting any test results that are positive. Hockey's not getting any positive results as they're up in Canada now. Soccer's not getting any positive results in recent testing. So baseball obviously is at risk, but so is football. And now we're seeing columnists already saying, the players are going to start going, the guys are just opting out, players are going to start reporting, and wait till you see those numbers explode. Are you one of those guys who are saying, wait till you see these numbers explode before we see the numbers explode?
Well, I'd like to sort of wait and see, but the ominous signs are there. I mean, the last time I counted the number of NFL opt-outs, it was already at 25, including 6 from the Patriots. So it's happening. You know, the Dolphins haven't had any yet, at least as of earlier today, but I think 17 teams have already had guys opt out. And you're entirely right. Baseball and football are the two sports that are the most in danger. And Manfred, I have to give him this much credit. He did at least investigate that bubble idea in the Phoenix area, but they just didn't get it right. And the travel, the airplanes and the hotels and the different stadiums, that's what's really putting baseball at risk, and will do the same for football.
Now, we had seen some tweets coming out yesterday late in the day that Bob Nightingale, I think, was on a radio show in Pittsburgh and said that he had heard that the Marlins, left the hotel in Atlanta and went out somewhere, and that's presumably where they contracted the COVID. Is there any more intelligence on that as to where they went, or exactly who went, how many guys went out and where'd they go?
Yeah, I don't know who went, but I do know it was, we've reported that it was a small number. It wasn't like a half the team marauding over Atlanta. I think it was 2 or 3 guys, frankly. And, it's a young team. Not that that's an excuse, but they just didn't follow the protocols. And, Don Mattingly, the manager, said it very well. He said, we went through all of spring training in Jupiter, spring 2.0, and without any problem whatsoever. But once we went on the road, that's when it got scary. And obviously it's because these leagues can put it in as much health and safety protocol as they want. But if anybody goes astray, whether it's Lou Williams in a strip club or 2 or 3 Miami Marlins in Atlanta, where the strip club also was coincidentally, then that's where you get in trouble.
If they had gone to Magic City like Lou Williams, none of this would have happened, Greg, and then the Phillies wouldn't have had their season destroyed. And by the way, their season gets destroyed every time they play the Miami Marlins because they can't beat that stinking team.
Yeah, and now the Marlins delayed season opener, their twice delayed season opener is supposed to be this coming Tuesday, although that you have to put a big asterisk on it at this point because I'll believe it when I see it.
And the same situation happening with the Phillies now. Even though they have tested positive, negative consecutive days, they're supposed to play the Blue Jays for a series starting on Friday night here in Philly. And now that's been moved to Saturday as a doubleheader on Saturday and then a single game on Sunday. So the doubleheaders are already stacking up for the Phillies. And the Phillies are going to have doubleheaders, and the Orioles and the Yankees. And obviously the Marlins are going to have a ton of games to make up. How are they going to get these games in? And how are they going to actually have all teams playing close to 60 games to make it equitable when it's all said and done?
Yeah, you're right. That's Rob Manfred's headache and whoever runs his scheduling because the Marlins have already missed 7 games. And the idea that they may miss more than 7 or have more than 7 postponed, to me is very possible, because I don't know, they had another guy test positive. So the number's now at 16 players and 2 coaches, last I heard, although that could have changed and gone north since I last heard. So, it's once you have a virus like this within you, it's tough to get rid of it as a team. That's the problem with playing team sports. And it's going to be exaggerated in football because you have a larger team, a larger coaching staff, and you're playing a contract sport that wants nothing to do with social distancing.
Well, how bad is the situation down where you live? Because we get, watch the news, we get reports that, it's a hot spot or it's exploding and all this stuff. I've got relatives in the Palm Beach area that say it's pretty bad. What is your perspective of how bad things are down there?
Yeah, the South Florida area, which is Miami, Miami-Dade County, and just to the north, Broward County, which is the Fort Lauderdale area closer to where I live. It's very bad. We're under strict rules down here, face masks everywhere in public. Just today, Broward County set a county record for most deaths in a single day. I think we had 216. The county is routinely over 10,000 test positives per day. So we're still in the middle of it. And that's what, amplifies the scariness for teams like the Marlins and Dolphins that play down here.
Now, speaking of the Dolphins, we're talking with Greg Cote down there at the Miami Herald on the Dan Le Batard show, and he's pretty much a multimedia star. He even has time to do some yard work during the day.
He's got his own, the Greg Cote show, too, according to this, on every Monday on Instagram, 7 a.m.
You have any Instagram models come in?
We're on wherever you do your potting, as we say.
So you're on Instagram now. Do you have any IG models coming in, auditioning so that they can go to the bubble in Orlando and see if there's any takers and they can slip into the rooms of some of the NBA stars like your Miami Heat guys?
No. We keep the podcast to the outlets like Apple and Spotify. We don't do too much on Instagram other than sound bites from the podcast to promote it.
Greg Cote. Now, Greg, you mentioned the Dolphins, and today Brian Flores, the head coach, had a get-together with the media, a virtual one, a Zoom session, and he was talking about, the quarterback Tua is going to be full go now, competing in camp. And he also said, hey, listen, I told my guys, you got to go out and be careful out there. No strip clubs, be careful going into bars. And so, we always hear that. We hear our governors and senators and everybody saying, stay inside, don't go outside, flatten the curve. How likely will they be? And Brian Flores is one of the great young coaches, and I know the players respect him as a young guy. Are there going to be players who are going to say, yeah, coach, exactly what you say, or are there going to be guys who are just going to do their thing and not think it's going to affect them?
I think the odds are likely that it's going to be the latter, unfortunately. You're talking about 60 guys, 60 or 70, however many are in camp right now, and all it takes is 1 or 2. That's the scary thing here. And I had the Marlins captain, Miguel Rojas, on the podcast just last week before the nightmare started with the Marlins, and he was talking about how proud he was of his team. He thought everybody was going to follow the protocols and put their families first and toe the line, and they all didn't. A couple of them didn't, and now Rojas himself is one of the players who's tested positive. So as far as the Dolphins go, I'd be scared if I were Brian Flores. I admire him as well, think a lot of him, and I think he runs a tight ship, but out of 60 or 70 players, if you're going to have a couple do what a couple Marlins did in Atlanta, then that starts the fire.
Now, Greg, I know you cover sports, you love sports, and you're hopeful that all this stuff continues and these things play out, and we do play football in the fall. But where is your gut right now? If I had to ask you about the NFL, and of course college football is huge down in the Southeast as well. What are your thoughts on that actually coming to fruition this year?
I think I'm more concerned about college football happening. We're already seeing leagues go to conference-only schedules. A couple of the minor leagues have already canceled the 2020 college football season. And there you're talking about, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are not fully developed. They're not professionals. They're not, shouldn't be in a position having to make these kind of calls themselves. That's why league commissioners are going to step up. Whereas in football, they're professionals. They're older. You can trust them a little bit more, I think, to make decisions like this. Although, as we've seen in the NFL, a lot of guys are opting out, and I think that number is going to grow. I'm worried about football happening in the fall. I know the NFL is hell bent to start, even if it's without fans. But I'm a little concerned about college football. I'm also concerned about MLB getting through 60 games and then a playoffs.
I think Texas today, as I saw earlier, has announced that they've ratcheted their plans back for fans in the seats from 50,000 to 25,000 or 25%. I'm trying to find the story, but another one of the college programs, I believe it was the University of Texas, has announced they're not going to do as many fans as they had planned initially in the seats.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins have a contingency plan in place that would allow, I think, 15,000 fans with social distancing and all kind of protocols in place. So I think the idea that, less than 2 months from now, we're going to see full stadiums is just absolute fallacy. It's not going to happen.
It looks like looking at 25% attendance capacity.
So went from 50, this is the University of Texas,
50
right?
to 25,
I read it this morning, and I didn't write it down as we were getting ready for the show. But the good news, though, Greg, is that hockey, and I know you're a big hockey fan. You got your Stanley Cup shirt on now. And of course, no bigger hockey hotbed than the Miami-Dade area. Well, no, I'm thinking of Tampa Bay area.
Tampa team.
No, I'm joking, because the Tampa Bay Rays just shut out the Florida Panther earlier today in one of the exhibition games before they start for Rio this weekend.
Yeah, when you think Miami, you think hockey. There's no doubt about that. But the Panthers, the Cats do have a hardcore fandom down here. They really do. And a lot of people are excited about the restart of the season. And I do think the NBA and hockey have a much better chance to play it out, and MLS as well. And we have an expansion MLS team called Inter Miami. And imagine being an expansion team in 2020 and having to deal with all this. It's just been crazy.
What percentage of those Panthers fans are bitter and broken Rangers fans that have relocated to South Florida?
Probably a few. I mean, when the Rangers or the Isles or New Jersey is down here, you get the transplants down here. But I think a lot of the transplants have become Panthers fans. They've got a good goalie in Bobrovsky. They've got Coach Q, who's like one of the all-time winningest coaches. So I think they are doing things right. But the Panthers always seem to be just one or two guys away. They're competitive. They've got a good young core, but they always seem to be missing something.
I'll tell you one thing, though. The Tampa Bay Lightning, from their inception, have always had, and obviously they had a lot of Philadelphia fans and Flyer fans and a lot of Flyer connections when they put that program together, Phil Esposito and so many people in the Tampa Bay area, and that's probably the most consistent of all the Southern teams in hockey. Carolina's done well, but the Lightning, man, they're good almost every single year, it seems.
Yeah, and when you look at that market, you can't say the same about the Buccaneers, although they have Brady now, and the Rays seem to be up and down. So I think there's an opening for hockey there that there hasn't been for the Panthers in a real crowded Miami market, although naturally Tom Brady coming to Tampa changes the whole dynamic there.
Yeah, Cote, yep.
You never know what happens with this NBA with these 8 remaining games. The Sixers could end up playing the Heat in the opening round of the playoffs. I mean, that would, that
Do
would
you
be
have
a
that
great
all
series.
figured out already, Greg? Do you have, like, Joel Embiid's minutes figured out and whether Ben Simmons is going to be a dominant power forward and how the whole situation with the Heat and the Sixers is going to play out?
I haven't looked that far ahead. I know the Heat can fall no further than the 6th seed and could still theoretically get to number 2 and catch Toronto, but that's almost mathematically impossible. So we're probably looking at a 3 through 6 for Miami, although with no home court advantage in the playoffs, I'm not sure if seedings weigh quite as much as they used to.
I gotta say one thing. Watching the hockey in Toronto, I like the buildings where they did and the NBA.
Yeah,
I like the fact
good.
that they don't have to put cardboard cutouts in the stands. And we saw the hockey in Toronto yesterday and today. I like the way they've done it with the arenas.
Yeah, they've done it right. I mean, I have to give Adam Silver credit and hockey as well. The bubble idea works well for teams with smaller rosters, and I guarantee you, Rob Manfred is second guessing himself and wishing that they had tried harder after the Phoenix possibility exploded on them to get it right with the bubble thing, because it's the travel, it's the airplanes and hotels and airports. That's where you really increase the likelihood.
Don't never downplay the importance of strip clubs and bars. Come on, Greg. Haven't you learned
I
that?
never do, believe me.
Haven't you learned that from Dan Lebitard all these years?
I've learned it from covering a lot of guys between the ages of 18 and 29 for all these years.
And by the way, tell Lebitard, when the hell is he going to come on my show? I keep trying to get a hold of him. I email him. I hit him up on Twitter. Stu Gotts never gets back to me. What the hell is going on with those guys down there, man?
You know what? I'm going to put in a good word for you, because I've had both of them on my podcast already, and the downloads always go through the roof whenever they're on. So I'm shamelessly tailoring my show to the Lebitard audience with good results.
Dan and I go way back, and it's funny. The last time I saw him was we were at the Super Bowl, and he was doing a show. He wasn't there. It was in Atlanta. He was down in Miami, and he didn't come to Atlanta, so he had Stu Gotts and his people there on Radio Row, and I did a walk-by on his live shot, and I stopped like I was a tourist.
Like a photo bomb kind of
Yeah, but
thing.
it was like I was a dumb tourist looking like, what is going on here, you know? And then he notices me, and he says, oh, Tony Bruno's in there. And then they were going to a break, so I couldn't talk to him. But that's the last time I talked to Dan Lebitard 2 years ago, and I said, I'll see you in Miami. And then I didn't see him at all when we were there earlier this year. So he's ducking me. You tell Dan Lebitard he's not going to duck me. I'll come down there, and I'll bring the Marlins with me, and I'll bring all the infecteds with me, sort of like the Walking Dead. And we'll all go into his studio. We'll go to South Beach, and we will storm his studio and go in there and pull him out.
Well, he's got armed guards around that studio, you know, Dan. I mean, he spares no expense.
Any preview on what your next Back in My Day will be?
Oh, you know what? I'm struggling to come up with an idea. Dan wants me to do one every week now on the show, and that's tough because I've been doing them for like 4 years, and you run out of things to complain about after a while. So if you got any good ideas, email them to me.
Okay, will do.
Greg Cote, or when he goes, as he was telling us before he come on, to a good French restaurant, he refers to himself as Monsieur Cote. S'il vous plaît.
Yes, that's right.